For Eric J on Sports, I'm Eric J, and this is what I think. Well, the college football playoff field has been set, and as usual, there is controversy. Hopefully the controversy will go away when the field of 4 grows to a field of 12, but for right now, there's controversy. Florida State University, the University of Colorado head coach Deion Sanders, finished their season undefeated, but were left out of the 14 playoff, and they are upset. Their feeling is, we did everything that we were supposed to do, we won all of our games, but we're not in. But who would you take out? Michigan and Washington also finished undefeated, and they were on top of 2 power conferences. I didn't say Power 5 conferences, which is a different thing. I said power conferences. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten, the top 2 conferences in college football this year. Michigan finished undefeated, Washington finished undefeated, so they're in the playoff. The other 2 teams, Alabama and Texas, have 1 loss, so Florida State feels like they should at least be ahead of one of those 2 teams. But the sad reality of the college football playoff is the fact that in addition to it being a tournament to decide an eventual college football champion, it's a series of TV shows. It's 3 TV shows. It's 2 TV shows leading to an ultimate TV show, and the NCAA is looking for a big rating, and they feel that Alabama and Texas would probably travel better to the games, creating more attendance, and their fans would probably watch the games more so than the fans of Florida State. So Alabama and Texas are in, and Florida State is out. And that is what it is. If Florida State were a more popular university with the general public, they would be in the tournament because Alabama and Texas make for better television than Florida State. And then there's the feeling that Florida State would probably not create a competitive game. So having competitive games between Michigan and Alabama and Washington and Texas leaves Florida State in the lurch because they don't feel that Florida State would be competitive with those other 4 teams, and they don't feel that Florida State's fans will travel or will tune in. But that's not really what this commentary is about. After seeing how the 4 teams were selected, I started thinking, I wonder what would happen if the NFL selected their playoff teams, their Final Four, the same way college does. How would we determine who went in and who went out? There, of course, wouldn't be any undefeated teams, so that would be a moot point. But determining who the 4 best teams were would be an interesting dilemma, but even more so determining who the 4 teams would be in the tournament, because that would be a different dilemma than determining who the 4 best teams are. So I'm going to attempt to offer my assistance to the NFL in this endeavor, and we're going to try and figure this out together. Right now, if you looked at the NFL, arguably the 4 best teams are the 49ers, the Eagles, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, easily, the 49ers and the Eagles are the 2 best teams, so you wouldn't want to leave them out. So then your issue becomes, what do we do with the Ravens and the Cowboys? Because the next 3 best teams on this list, 5, 6, and 7, the teams that would have an argument for being in but would be left out, would be the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Detroit Lions. Now, if you're talking about most appealing teams, if you're talking about Q rating, if you're talking about whose fans would travel and whose fans would tune in, then the Detroit Lions team is going to get eliminated. So we're not even going to discuss them in this issue. But now that leaves you with the Chiefs and the Dolphins having an argument for being in, because all of these teams are around 9-3, 10-3 as far as their records go. So if you argue that the 49ers and the Eagles are the 2 best teams and have to be in, then you've got the Ravens and Cowboys who are in, and the Chiefs and Dolphins who aren't in. So what do? There's a thing in media that says that there are certain entities in sports that have to be discussed because these entities boost ratings. Those entities are the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Lakers, LeBron James, Shohei Ohtani, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady, of course. Different entities like that. All of these people boost ratings. And one of those entities that boosts ratings is the Dallas Cowboys. If you talk about the Cowboys, or if you talk about Bill Belichick or Tom Brady, or if you talk about the Lakers, LeBron James, Tiger Woods, or the Yankees or the Dodgers or Shohei Ohtani, you are going to get a rating spike because everybody cares about these entities. Now Jim Harbaugh has worked his way into that list, but that's another conversation for another day. So if you're looking at what 4 teams are the 4 best teams and what 4 teams will boost the rating, then you kind of want to leave the Cowboys in, except for the fact that the Cowboys play really hard and can destroy bad teams, but struggle against very good teams. And if you put them in a 4-team playoff with 3 other very good teams, the Cowboys aren't going to be around very long. So do you really want them in your tournament when you know they're not going to be there very long? Probably because they'll boost ratings for at least 1 week. So now you're stuck with the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. And you got to figure out if you want the Ravens, the Chiefs, or the Dolphins as the 4th team. Now, the Baltimore Ravens are an interesting team because they have a player who is box office, and that's Lamar Jackson. He is box office. People want to see him play. And most of the time when his games are on, he is interesting, but it's just him. Lamar is a great player. Lamar is interesting. He's dynamic. He makes things happen, and people want to see him. But is he more interesting and more dynamic and more intriguing and more box office than Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs? No, because Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback. He's a 2-time champion, and he does things that even Lamar Jackson doesn't do. Lamar Jackson can throw, Patrick can throw. Lamar can run, Patrick can run. Lamar runs better than Patrick, but Patrick is likely to do a no-look pass, or Patrick is likely to throw the ball behind his back, or Patrick is likely to do something that you've never seen before from a quarterback and have it work out. And then when you think about the Chiefs, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens are just Lamar Jackson. The Chiefs are also Travis Kelce, and with Travis Kelce, you get Taylor Swift. So, do you want the better team in the Baltimore Ravens in your tournament? Or do you want Patrick Mahomes, who appears in all the State Farm commercials, Travis Kelce, who's pretty much everywhere doing everything, and a possible matchup between Travis Kelce and his brother Jason Kelce, who plays for the Eagles? That creates a lot of storylines, and the Eagles and Chiefs have met each other before. They met at the Super Bowl. They met this season. It becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more things happen when you've got Patrick Mahomes from the State Farm commercials, because Jake from State Farm might show up at a game. You got Travis Kelce on the Chiefs, and then you got the potential for Taylor Swift to be in the stands. Just that alone means people are going to tune in to watch. People who don't even care about football are going to tune in to see if Taylor Swift shows up. So you want the Chiefs in the tournament. So do you take out the Cowboys, or do you take out Lamar Jackson? The Cowboys, who are inconsistent and can only really win if you're playing a bad team, or Lamar Jackson, a dynamic player, but a one-man show. But then that brings us to the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa is probably Lamar Jackson, but just a younger version. He's a good thrower. He's a good runner. He makes plays. His team wins. But the Dolphins have the single most dynamic player in the league on their roster, former Kansas City Chief Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is one of those players who, like Deion Sanders, who like Bo Jackson, who like Eric Dickerson, when you put the ball in their hands, Barry Sanders was this type too. You put the ball in their hands, everybody gets on the edge of their seat. Everybody stops doing what they're doing. The popcorn goes down, the beer goes down, the hot dog goes down. Everybody stops what they're doing to see what's going to happen, because something spectacular is going to happen. Because it was once said about Barry Sanders that he could make a 3-yard loss into a highlight reel. Think about that for a second. A 3-yard loss into a highlight reel. Deion Sanders catches a punt or a kickoff, or he intercepts a ball. You stop what you're doing because he's going to do something spectacular. He may score. So you want to see it. Bo Jackson ran over Brian Bosworth, ran for 200 and some yards for the Raiders, had 2 90-yard runs for the Raiders. He was dynamic. He was box office. Tyreek Hill is that guy. Whenever the ball is in his hands, you expect magic. You expect an ESPN clip. You expect a highlight reel. And Tua is going to try to get Tyreek the ball as many times as possible. So now you've got the Taylor Swift factor, and you've got the most dynamic player in the league factor, but they're the teams that are left out because arguably the 4 best teams are the Niners and the Eagles and the Ravens and the Cowboys. So if the NFL selected their Final Four the way the NCAA selects their Final Four, then you would either be leaving out the most dynamic quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes with Travis Kelce and the Taylor Swift factor, Or you'd be leaving out the most dynamic single player in the league in Tyreek Hill, who's a former Chief, which creates a storyline there, and his Miami Dolphins. You would be leaving them out for the sake of America's team, the team that boosts ratings for the media whenever they're even brought up or mentioned, and probably the best quarterback in the league right now, because Patrick Mahomes may have slipped a little bit and Lamar Jackson may have surpassed him. Because you have to argue that the Eagles and the 49ers are the two best teams, and they have to be in there. The Eagles and the 49ers are Michigan and Washington. The Ravens and the Cowboys are Alabama and Texas. And the Dolphins and the Chiefs are Florida State. Having a better reason to be in, but then you're wondering if they go in, then who goes out? So it's a good thing that the NFL doesn't do this. It's a good thing that the NFL bases their playoff teams on record, on performance, on what you did on the field and who you did it against, as opposed to, okay, yeah, you may have a good record, but Alabama and Texas are going to draw better than the 13-0 Florida State team, so we're going to go with Alabama and Texas. It's a good thing the NFL doesn't do that. That means that the champion at the end of the year is truly the best team in the league. Remember to like and share this video and subscribe to this channel and visit the Eric J on Sports website and follow me on Facebook at Eric J on Sports 1 and on Instagram and Twitter at Eric J on Sports. And for Eric J on Sports, I'm Eric J and this is what I think.